Sanbanan, welcome to my page. And if you're following me from YouTube, welcome to my channel. Today I want to speak about career pivot. A career pivot is a strategic shift into a new role, and that takes into consideration your previous set of skills and competences and knowledge, your industry contacts. You leverage on those, and then you move into a new market or a new role. Many times in my career, I've had to pivot, and I'll just share a little bit about one instance. When I was reflecting, I realized that I was pivoting even before I knew what pivoting was. And I just thought that it would be very helpful for me to share. First of all, establishing this page is me trying to reach out and help people. I wish I had these tools when I was, early years of my career, when I was still growing my career. At some point I looked for a career coach and I couldn't afford one. And what helped, were series of people that I just reached out to and asked. Each time I had a new role, I asked somebody, I asked for help, I asked questions, I read books, I attended training, and really today I sit and I think, what would I have, wanted? And that is me today, establishing this page as well as, creating tools to enable you to succeed. So a career pivot really is, it happens, when you know that you are due for one is when you have been in one role for a long time and you're no longer growing. You are no longer learning anything new, or the opportunities for growth are not there. No stretch assignment, no new challenge. And basically, when you sit and you reflect, there are people that will say, I have X years in this industry. I once heard somebody say, you mustn't be proud of that, because it just means that, well, sometimes, not all the time, it just means that you got 1 year repeated 10 times of doing the same thing. So I really hope that no one is in that position. But basically, you will find that internally, as human beings, we get motivated, of course, by different things, but one of the things is growth. And if you find yourself stagnated, stuck, you're no longer growing, then you know that this conversation is for you. You are due for a career pivot. Or it's not even that, but the fact that we've talked about how AI has changed the landscape, and you're realizing that, in my field, I'm most likely, the role that I'm in is most likely to be, automated, or is likely to be affected by AI, because what we know and what we have to be honest about is that most of the roles that include repetitive tasks, predictable tasks, those are the ones that is going to be easy to be replaced by AI. But, there are a skill set, where it will be, well, we don't know if AI will learn fast and at some point learn the skills, but that the human-centered skills, critical thinking, judgment, leadership, complex problem solving, those are some of the skills that we know that cannot be replicated by AI. And so as you're sitting, and maybe that's you're thinking, what, in the role that I am in, it's really easy for AI to replicate. So what do I have to do in order to prepare for the future? Then that conversation, of course, applies to you. In my career, I've had to pivot. I'm just going to share a little bit about a very critical phase of my career. I was working for an NGO, and at that point, I think I did say, if you followed my post a few weeks, I talked about how my first job was with the government, but it wasn't fixed. It was a fixed term, it wasn't a permanent role. My contract that was renewed every 2 to 3 months, and that really put me under pressure. Just basically, being a firstborn, wanting financial security, and of course, just to grow my career. And every 2 to 3 months, everything was up in the air. I never knew whether the contract would be renewed or not. But so I landed my first role, permanent role, and I was elated. I was excited. I really gave it my best, and unfortunately, it was one of those roles where it was unique to this organization. So I was working for World Vision, and I was working in sponsorship. And a lot of times my colleagues, I don't know if they were away, but they were torturing me because each and every day they would, well, every now and then they would say, so what's your plan? What's your future plan? Do you realize that you're really stuck here? There's no growth. When you're sitting and think about your future, what do you see yourself? And most of the time, I was just like hardworking. I'm the one that will leave the office late. And each time they were like, you know what, you work so hard, but what's your future? Why are you giving everything to this organization? Without looking outside. You need to start looking. That really got me worried at times, but I tried to focus on the positive things because I'm like that person. And at some point when I did my master's in 2010, there was a great opportunity. That program opened my eyes because it was applied learning, where you're writing every assignment, you analyze real life cases from your organization and you apply the knowledge that you apply the models or the frameworks that you're learning. And at that point, really, because I was just like, focused on delivery, I wasn't even taking cognizance or, because I wasn't thinking of a job, I wasn't taking into consideration what is my skill set, what am I learning in all this. And what that program did was that with each module, so corporate strategy, they would challenge you to go and analyze your company's strategy. And so I started seeing, oh my god, this is what it means. Because I don't know, but if you're in an international organization, most of the time you receive, it's a top down approach. You receive forms from the headquarters. They don't even explain what they are. They say complete this by when, deadline. And you get into the routine of just completing tasks, completing forms, and you're not critically thinking. It's not even critical thinking, but I think you just don't know. It was through this program that I got to analyze, oh my God, like for instance, the module of change management, leading strategic change. I began to say, oh, actually, whether, I was applying the Cortez 8 steps of change, whether it was the Kurt Lewin model or it was the Adker model, I was challenged to apply all those models, and I started looking at these forms differently, whether it was corporate governance, the role of the board. It just opened a whole world. And HR as well. It opened a whole, modern HR practices, and you were writing assignments, critically analyzing, what's happening in your organization. If you like the dream organization, like the best practice, you'd apply best practice principles and explain how that would look like. I walked away from that program with so much confidence that allowed me, to then think, what are the transferable skills? So critically, even today, if you're going to move from one role, maybe from an industry that is not related to to what you want to do, the one thing that you have to be looking at are the transferable skills. That was a game changer for me. By the time I got this opportunity for a new interview, I was able to package all my experience according to, because the next position was OD. That's how I moved into HR, because my first degree had some sort of like, HR, but I hadn't had the opportunity to practice it. So through this master's degree, I was able then to just, nail that interview. I always say, if it's an interview, you got one opportunity and you must just make the most. So yeah, I was able to I had not done HR before, but through all that experience, being able to demonstrate transferable skills, I was able to secure that position. And within, 4 months, the new opportunity that led me to be head of learning and talent then came. And I was able to move seamlessly into a full HR role. And I just want to encourage somebody today and say, you know what, you have not been in that role and not learning. You've definitely been learning something. You've got a certain skill set. And the assignment today is for you to sit and analyze that. And, that allows you then to specify, to articulate your unique value proposition. I think the other pivot that I needed to do, later on, just a few years ago, when I was clear that, I've come to that point where the job no longer challenges me. There's a lot of stretch assignments. It was busy, but my heart was no longer in there. One of the things that I did, one of the key decisions that I made was to engage a career coach, but then I afforded one, and she was based in South Africa. She had experience in terms of like working for an international organization. And so what helped, for me, that was a critical turning point, because she basically held a mirror to say, you have a career, and you have you have clear results, you have transferable skills that you can take anywhere. And we started looking at international organizations. What would that look like if I were to apply? And that really gave me so much confidence. And I could start dreaming. I could start, seeing possibilities. Yet from where I was sitting, it's one thing to dream, but what is the value? What do I bring? Because I think sometimes when you're sitting and you've been doing the same thing for a long time, you don't really have that moment of reflection and knowing what you bring to the table. And so that journey for me was very critical in terms of just giving me confidence. I've been sitting and developing a guide, because I sat and I thought, how would I explain this to somebody today that is in a different career? Maybe you're a teacher, but of course, or whatever career that you are in, and you can clearly articulate your skills, but you just don't have the confidence, or maybe you're at the point where your financial commitments would not, allow you to get the get the service of hiring a career coach. You're going to be able to be guided. You're going to sit with this document and just be able to read through and start, mapping what your future or your next 1 year or to 2 years will look like. What are the things that you need to put in place in order for you to make that change? Companies, we've seen this with companies that, I don't want to say they refuse, but if you look at the story of BlackBerry, most of people who are my age would know in 2007 that it was a great thing, prestigious thing to have a BlackBerry, and they had not largest market share, but they had a sizable market share, and they were confident. They saw the winds of change coming. They saw iPhone, but they were very confident that no, what we've done works. We've got a sizable market share, and we are good. 2007, iPhone was launched. By 2013, they had lost that 50% share of the market share, and they were down to 3%. And they were good at what they were doing, but they were not quick enough or agile enough to make the right decisions for the change that was coming their way. Same thing with Nokia. If you Google the last speech for the Nokia CEO, you will know he was in tears. With every business school, I think if you've done any masters, you'll know these two stories that will always be speaking about. He said, we didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost. And that was when they were acquired by Microsoft. And it would be said for us as professionals today, to turn a blind eye to what AI, to the change that's coming our way. For some of the professions, the change is already there. They've already been impacted by the change. So I think my encouragement is, don't bury your head in the sand, but be prepared, be proactive. It's not going to take maybe a year or something. It'll just look different for different people, because we're all at different career phases. And also we've got very serious decisions to make. I know for me, this last career pivot really took a lot. I think if you've watched my other personal videos where I shared sometime last year, it took everything. The scenario is different. I'm the firstborn. I'm a single parent. I was occupied. I was in a very senior role. I had very serious financial commitments, and I had to really sit down and think, what is the cost of remaining and not changing? What will happen in 5 years' time? It was so scary. So this is not me, motivating you to change, to drop everything and just say no. I'm saying, please be proactive, think through, start planning. And you may just find that in your field, you don't have to do anything, maybe not. But as I said, quoting my favorite quote by Alvin Toffler, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those that cannot read or write, but it will be those that cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. There's definitely a set of skills that you have to unlearn. And for you to remain employable, you need a certain skill set again. So continuous learning being one of those, leadership, complex, as relevant to your post. So in the next few weeks, I will be communicating details of my masterclass where I will take individuals that are interested through, steps of how to pivot, how to prepare for a career pivot, because you don't want to just jump into it, but you want to carefully plan. But again, you don't want to sit and bury your head in the sand. So yes, I'm going to communicate what that will look like, but also I encourage you to visit my website, www.pivotwithshapes.com, so that you can have a look at the tools that I've developed with each. I mean, I'm listening to the feedback from you and people that are reaching out. Thank you so much. I've already got clients. That's exciting. I'm already working with different people, and I'm taking that feedback and really developing and making sure that I'm relevant and that I speak to your needs. So currently, I have CV templates. I have an interview tool, because interview, like I did say last week, it's a skill that you can practice. But in the event that you don't have a career coach or somebody that can take you through, AI is there for you to practice and get. So this tool will give you questions. You answer those questions. You get a report. What are your skills gap? And if you want me to coach you, yes, you can then book a coaching call, and then I can do that for you. And a reflection tool. I've also developed a reflection tool. This is a key one, because it's the one that's going to inform you if indeed you have to make serious decision regarding your career trajectory, or you really have to keep the status quo. So let's do this. I told you that this year we are going to do this. We're going to win. And I'm really all about, you choosing to be where you are. Stay in that organization by choice. Because again, I know how others are reaching out and they're telling me how hard it has been. They want to make the change, but it's very scary. They are in toxic environments, and unfortunately it's costing them their health. So I think that's the other that's the other unfortunate part, to say, if I remain and I don't make a decision, it's definitely a choice and it's costing you something. So I'm here to support you all the way. And I just want to say thank you for your time, and I wish you all the best in your career. Thank you.